Pratyush, I was at India AI Summit, and the only company I could hear was Sarvam.
And access to compute, that was really the changing point. You need to have the wherewithal to run 4,000 GPUs ourselves. It's important to fly in every orbit, win that orbit and go to the next orbit, especially in AI. Outside the US and China, it's only Mistral has built in Europe and now Sarvam we did it. These are often tens of trillions of tokens. A typical book is 150,000 words, right? So it's like millions of books of content. We are already doing 2.2 million minutes of calls every day on our stack. We should be owners of our destiny while being an open society willing to take good ideas, good components from everywhere.
Welcome to NPCI's Innovators Playground podcast. Our guest today is Pratyush Kumar, co-founder of Sarvam AI, a company that is at the forefront of building AI infrastructure and foundation models tailored for India. At Sarvam AI, Pratyush has been instrumental in advancing AI capabilities for Indian languages, helping create technology that makes AI more accessible and useful for millions of people across this country. Pratyush, thank you so much for joining NPCI's Innovators Playground podcast.
Thanks, Dilip, for having me here.
Pratyush, I was at India AI Summit, and the only company I could hear was Sarvam. And I was so proud. I was so proud as an Indian that we have our own model. I believe you had 14 drops. So how did this the plan you guys executed for the India AI Summit?
We started the company about 2.5 years back, right?
Yeah,
with Vivek. The only express intent was we should build the models ground up, no matter how contrarian or how offbeat it was. And we did various things along the way. But the India AI mission coming along in January of last year and suggesting that we should build models and there was an access to compute, that was really the changing point, right? Turning point, so to speak. And we had to go execute on the full stack of building models, right? It was multiple months of effort, getting GPUs up, making them, creating data at scale, training, etc. And it all sort of came to a crescendo with the summit where we had to put it out. But while we were doing that, we realized that the team has been doing many other things. We were doing voice AI, we were doing vision models, we were actually having voice bots at scale, we were doing things with variables and so on. So while we thought that there is a nice moment to launch the models on the day of the summit, there's more that the team wants to put out there. So we did this 14-day sprint.
So you spoke about the government push as a game changer. So how does this help Sarvam to really deliver this mandate? How much difficult it would have been otherwise?
At Sarvam, we have decided that our sort of like Karma Bhumi is here. We are focused on creating impact here. So what that constraint implied was we are looking to set up the full stack here. So which means you need to have the GPUs first, you need to have the wherewithal to run 4,000 GPUs ourselves. We need to be able to create data at scale without depending on data companies outside. I think constraint is a good place to sort of like innovate. The way it worked out with the India AI mission was they were able to support financially the compute, which we are then able to pay back later. And it's important sometimes just this access to capital temporarily is also very important for companies like us to take that bet. Otherwise, we don't go to the next step. Mind you, we are still a long way away from us being competitive with the frontier. But it is important to, let us say, fly in every orbit, win that orbit and go to the next orbit, especially in AI. And this orbit was very much dependent on can we build, in fact, outside the US and China, above 100 billion parameters from scratch. Only Mistral has built in Europe and now Sarvam, we did it. I think winning that orbit and then saying, let's go to the next orbit super fast. I think is very big champion of AI.
I think it was fantastic. We also have, some of the employees asking the question, and when we gave your name, you can't imagine the amount of questions came from NPCI employees. This one is from Aman Kumar, our lead AI engineer, and his question is, go a little bit deeper on this 105 billion parameter model. What were the efforts involved? The GPUs, the trainings, the R&D, and even the dollar value, if you can talk about. How can our audience, who are mostly the engineers in the colleges, look at this effort and take inspiration from Sarvam?
See, all of us are aware that these are neural networks. They are networks of transformer-based modules which are connected together. So when you say 105 billion parameters, we say that there are 105 billion variables which you can tweak for the objective of being able to model how world's knowledge looks like and solve particular tasks, right? So if you think about a quadratic equation, two variables you're fitting to data, here it's 105 billion parameters. The question is, what data are we fitting it onto, and what exactly is this equation, right? So the first thing that we often do is to focus on data. Training of these models goes through three phases. One is called pre-training, where we show it somehow the world's knowledge. These are often tens of trillions of tokens. A token is roughly about, let's say, conservatively half a word or a little bit more. A typical book is 150,000 words, right? So it's like millions of books of content. There's a lot of effort to ensure that the data is high quality. A lot of effort in curating data, cleaning it up, and also synthetically creating data. So that's a bulk of the work. The second step is to design the architecture of the network. Many of you might have heard this term mixture of experts, right? So these models, they are 105 billion parameters, but on any given inference of a token, only a few billion parameters are active, which means that inference costs come down. But there is enough space to memorize the world's knowledge. There, we had to figure out how many layers of the network, what sparsity to use, what kind of operators to use. And in fact, we trained 3 models, not one. We trained a 3 billion parameter model. In fact, we maxed out in terms of research exploration. The 3B was a state space model. It's what is called hybrid of attention and convolution. The 30B was using something called like a GQA. It's a group to attention mechanism. And the 105B was using an MLA kind of architecture. So we looked at various architectures. That's the second part. You decide the network. And the third part is then you need to make this run on GPUs. GPUs are a very different paradigm of computing. They are synchronous machines that need to run at scale. So how do you take the underlying frameworks that are available and make them work with your data? And then it goes towards fine-tuning and reinforcement learning. In fact, the algorithm that is really giving the gains is something called reinforcement learning. And the quick way to explain that is in pre-training, you're showing the world's knowledge. Like a child would be just seeing the world around with no objective and understanding. Supervised fine-tuning is when you tell the student, here is the question and here is the model answer. And in reinforcement learning, what you're telling the child, or in this case, the model is, I won't tell you the correct answer. You go play. You figure out what you want to do. Give me many, many answers. I will score your answers. I'll give you a verified reward for your answers. And basis that score, you go and learn. That allows for the model to be very exploratory, creative, and not have to straitjacket go into a particular solution. And this is a paradigm that is doing quite well. The final piece was for us to be able to optimize the model for inferencing. Right? How do you sort of like build support for things like SGLang and VLLM, which are all different serving mechanisms and so on. So this is the whole journey.
And you avoided the dollar value.
Yes, the compute cost was definitely lesser than what DeepSeek took by significant margin. In fact, we had the whole compute was about 20 million or a little bit less. And we trained 3 models. We did. It's not about one run that it costs. It's a lot of exploratory work. It's a lot of data creation work that gets layered. But the bottom line is, it is not billions of dollars. It's single-digit $1 million cost to build.
So you're saying single-digit $1 million funding, startup can actually build.
Absolutely. And the bottom line is this.
That's fascinating.
You need to have the talent.
The reason why I'm stressing on this number is because if we have the confidence that there is a company in India which has in a single-digit $1 million number, right, which is maxing out to $10 million, somebody can build a LLM and actually provide. I think that's a really fascinating news for our startups and our engineers.
In fact, I would take that forward, right? So when we started the company, there was this impression that only a couple of companies in the world will train models. And there's this hawa that, there's too many unknowns in this and so on. Of course, China first punctured it, released very good models, right? Now we are doing this. In fact, the world we should get to is that every company should train their own models. And it is the job of companies like Sarvam to create the infrastructure for doing it. It's not just compute, but there are layers of this. For example, can I make it very easy for you to do fine tuning? Can I do it very easy for you to do reinforcement learning? So that every organization closer to their business context is creating data, evals, defining what is good from bad, which may be very nuanced, right? And then there is infra to do it. I think we should elevate model building to the same experience as creating a database.
What you're saying is, this is nothing but tomorrow's or today's open source software, and actually you can just deploy it yourself, use it to your context, your environment, and actually what happens is you can deliver the quality, retaining the data. for yourself, right?
Mm.
You don't give your data to anybody else
Correct.
outside.
Correct. So we should get to a world where the data, the brand, the understanding of good and bad is in sovereign boundaries of a company. Or maybe it's a vertical, maybe it's a country. These are good boundaries, right? And we are able to leverage fast-moving research-led ideas, which are under the hood great systems that are built out and scalably running and accessible to everybody.
I think the $10 million is fairly reasonable for now companies to aspire to have this in house. Now, when we look at the global game now, everybody's building, raising the capital, deploying that as a capex, buying more GPUs, data centers. What is that Sarvam thinking about? Where does Sarvam stand today? Are you also planning to raise a lot of capital, build your own data centers, buy more GPUs? What's your strategy? Or in a way, I want to ask, what is the limiting factor for Sarvam to become Anthropic or Google of India?
I think there's a long way to go. I think of this as orbits, as I mentioned, right? The first orbit was to first show to ourselves and then to others that we can. That's not the main game. The main game now is how do we be a provider of a majority of tokens used in the country? The value loops of AI must be local. It is very clear that three broad kinds of things that are sort of dominating, right? One is voice as an infrastructure in India. Is very big. And we have been building things there. We want to scale that up. We are already doing 2.2 million minutes of calls every day on our stack. That's scaling up. I think that's like 100 million plus kind of a TAM. The second thing is agents. We have now built an entire stack for running agents in a sovereign form factor, which we are releasing next month. And
so it's going to be like a Hermes kind of a...
Hermes is one of the layers in that, which is called the harness layer. We have our own harness layers. In fact, that is the other important thing that's happening, that there are interesting things to do outside the model that improve the performance of AI systems. This is like a software layer that is outside on how to orchestrate hitting the model. And you can put logic there, you can put interesting things there. So I think agents is something we are really deeply interested in. The third thing is code. We will release a coding model which we can use within the country. It's slightly weird what's happening. Earlier we used to export labor and we used to get back dollars.
Right.
Now we are sending dollars and getting tokens. So for us, this is that scale out. It will require much larger models, at least trillion parameter models. And our goal is a majority of tokens in India should be served by India. There is no alternative for a country of this size and importance to do anything else.
And I think it's very fascinating that, can India preserve its tokens? Right? I think that's a great thought, what you have laid out. And that leads to the next question. Devraj Singh Sandhu, who works in the Rupee products at NPCI, building Rupee. But, today you look at China, which is now open sourcing the model and fairly high quality. And the other side, you look at Claude, Gemini, and there is no limitation. There is no dearth of capital, processing capability or energy limitations which they are living in, and they can still subsidize it to the user at a lowest possible token cost. How do you really compete on quality?
Firstly, I want to state that even in the global order, I don't think we are in an equilibrium or where we even know what's going to happen. It's still a thing in flux, right? And we should be clear that these are extremely leveraged plays. The amount of money that has gone into this, right, in the West. And of course, it is showing up in the outcomes. But I think it's important for us to be mindful that this will play out differently. There is no shortcut. We need to be able to run things at scale. We need to be able to generate data at scale and use that to improve our own models. Unless we do this, the value proposition for organizations in India is very bad in the medium term. It's very easy to say, I'll use so-and-so model and do something with it. But unless we have, in fact, Jack Dorsey, this guy who runs Block, he talks about how an org itself is AI. The key idea that organizations are essentially need to look like AI systems, which are constantly evolving. And the value loops of the data that you have, the models that you have are local, and everybody's sort of like creating evals, understanding things and so on, right? I think if you will apply that to a country as well, we need to ask the question, what is the metric of measuring where India is in AI? One thing is infra. How many GPUs do we have? The second is, how many tokens are you able to produce and consume in the country? And this decides the trajectory, the data dividend you have, and so on, right? And the third thing is, how much talent do you have to push the frontier on what is the next best model idea? These are the three metrics. And I don't think that there are any secret sauces that these guys have that you can't replicate. It is just that we have to play a game that is super fast, right? We don't have time. It's like every quarter things moves, right?
But do you really think that in spite of the huge gap between whether it's energy, GPUs, the data compared to US and China, you still think that India can still have its own place?
No, absolutely. See,
And India must have its own place.
no, one is must. But if you look at it, NVIDIA,
Yeah.
50% of people there are Indians.
Indians, yeah.
Right? You walk into Anthropic, a lot of people. So I think India has talent, right?
yeah.
We need landing zones in India for people to say ki we can do world-class stuff here. I think the only challenge is you need to be fast and ambitious. I think the only problem is being less ambitious, saying we don't want our models, we don't think we can compete. Nothing is settled. The world would be a better place if more people could produce and consume values that matter, right? Things of value. This is our moment. See, we can't play the China game. The China game is you block it, you close it down, and you say, these are the 5 companies, I'll anoint them and win. We are a democratic country, right? I think the superpower we have is we have an extremely talented diaspora. We have a very energetic, motivated nationalists here. And we have a big market. And we are a big country, large amount of resources and so on. We just need more self-belief. And we need to be more ambitious that we can do it. Of course, and then we need the capital and the GPUs to flow in at a speed, right? Which is required to match up.
To match up the potential we have, right? Let's talk about Sarvam Forward. How do you find really good talent to build while you and Vivek would have been at the helm of it? The team is everything, right? So how do you build your team?
Yeah, no, by the way, absolutely what you said, right? There's a very, very hardworking team. In fact, the day we finished the model training, it was a late night, I tweeted the names of all the people.
I know. I saw the tweet and I saw the picture between people who build the model.
Interestingly, all of them got offers 10x the salary from various companies. But the good thing is they stayed back, right? It's a very talented team. Maybe average is 25 or so in the company, young set of folks, right? I think the talent piece is very interesting in this world of AI when every month things are different and they will continue to be different. There are new tools, new technologies, new ideas that will keep coming out. The most important thing is agency. So what we are very deeply interested in is somebody, in fact, we call it something like recursive founder. Everybody should be a founder mentality. I know it doesn't matter what challenge is there. I can go and fix it. There's no employee mentality, right? You're not titles and you're not working in teams.
Correct, right? It's all gone now. It's all gone.
You need to have super agency. And you should be with a learning mindset and build. The Sarvam Forward that you mentioned, we believe that there's a very interesting place where there's a lot of opportunity is to say that I can marry the business context of what needs to be done with the fast evolving AI tools landscape and solve problems creatively. And we call it forward deployed or whatever. So Sarvam Forward is a program we want to start for students, for people who are employed, to get this skill mix. I can combine domain expertise with a good understanding of AI tools, a little bit more foundational understanding, not at the surface level, so that I can sort of like ride multiple waves that will come month after month and go and achieve this. I think with the right framing, a lot of people can create a lot of value for their respective organizations.
And when do you intend to start this?
I think we are starting this in the next couple of months as aligned with the next academic year, right? And would love to also collaborate with NPCI.
Oh, no, for sure. I think this is something very close to my heart as well. The next question is from Viban Ambiar, which she works in the product development for NPCI International. We now have connection with 10 countries. And her question is, while you have now mastered the Indian languages, is there a thought on foreign languages to Indian language conversion and vice versa?
See, I think language should be seen as a special case of specializing the model for a particular data. It could be data of an organization, could be a language and so on, right? And in fact, we have inbounds from countries in Africa, from the Southeast Asia to add language support to models. This is being deeply interested in doing, right? I think that there will be a lot of opportunity to taking a language or a combination of language in the text modality, in the speech modality, even vision modality with OCR and so on, and bring support, right? And again, it goes back to the thing where the job for companies like us is to create the stack. See, we have always benefited from platform plays in tech, right? The platform play for this world of AI is building hill climbing machines. We don't want two companies to climb on top of all the hills and the higher and higher hills and so on, right? It just puts a shadow that is untenable. We want to create hill climbing machines that respective teams or even countries can use. So just like we have taken our India stack, the digital public infrastructure, made it available to other countries, I think we should perfect the system in India, where in a sovereign form factor, we're able to build language support, data of a company into it, and then make it available to other places. And it's a full stack thing. It's about the GPUs, it's about the model, the hardness, the training recipes, and actually getting to a place where you get the results, you can evaluate it and so on.
No, fantastic. So if we now just fast forward to 3 years from now, what do you think the country's game would be, and where would Sarvam after 3 years?
No, so firstly, I think that at least Sarvam's stated goal is we want to serve majority of the tokens in the country. So whether it is voice, vision, edge, coding, agentic, we want to play that significant infrastructure role. And this will require us to be playing at a significant level on terms of model training, etc. But also doing a lot of systems engineering work on the inferencing, reducing the cost, continual learning. In fact, continual learning as a technique and the hardness optimization as techniques are interesting ideas where smaller models can continue to be sort of like punch much ahead of their, much higher than their weight, right? I think India's goal should be that we should see AI with a similar amount of paranoia as we saw nuclear energy and nuclear capability. I think India, towards the end of the decade, third largest economy, we should be self-sufficient in AI. We don't have to be close to the world. We will pick the best things in the world, let anybody do anything. But if it comes to it, we can do everything ourselves. So the self-sufficiency in AI, what we call Atmanirbharta, or the other way to say it is you should be invulnerable. The world is getting crazy and AI is so important for India to improve its productivity. AI is so important for us to give better quality of life for many people. We should be owners of our destiny while being an open society willing to take good ideas, good components from everywhere.
So I think the India 2.0 got benefit out of the software strategy.
Yes.
And I think the India 3.0 must derive its benefit from the AI.
Because only if we are self-sufficient can we make a meaningful dent in the world. India should continue to win in services. It will not be IT services, be commercial AI services or whatever. But unless we are winning here, we will not even have a right to play that game.
And what do you think the global game would be?
See, from a technical perspective, these models continue to benefit from scale. Right? It's a very interesting moment in the history of civilization, right? See, it never happens that we build bigger and bigger hammers and they continue to pay dividend. You can't have a country-size hammer, right? You always stop at somewhere. This is a tool where you keep scaling, it gives more, right? I think just from a technological perspective, that needs to be taken further and we need to test where the boundaries are. Right? That is one part. Commercially, I don't think it is a very stable equilibrium that a couple of companies exert an enormous impact on society. I don't think it's a good place to be in. I feel that more people, just look at this, what happened last quarter. People said token max because you get so much leverage and so on, right? And it's an overreaction. What you need is sustainable use of AI in a way in which you build something and what you build is so valuable that you can then drive business value. Token is an input. We are focusing on the wrong things because the world is moving so fast and people are reacting to it, and some of that is showing up in these numbers and so on. I genuinely feel that there are important research innovations to be done and more companies, more organizations will be able to do it. And it is not just the model, it's their model will improve, the systems around it, the harnesses, the continual learning on a given domain. I think a lot more will happen. And my sense is that the platform play of the cloud and hyperscaler should play a role in this, should be to distribute this ability to more organizations so that they can respectively do the things while there being a frontier out there which some companies are pushing. But right now there is too much focus on that tip of the spear.
Fantastic. So Pratyush, thank you so much doing this podcast with us. More power to you is what I can say from NPCI side. We are once again, we are very proud of what you guys have done, and in 3 years time we lean on you and Sarvam to have the flag India high in this whole competitive world market of AI.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and we are getting started and we'll look forward to collaborating with you and doing this. Also, I was very happy to see that you're giving this broadcast to students. Very well done. I think that more people need to, there's so much commentary about AI that it might be job loss, and so we need to be far more positive. Students hearing this should be looking at it and being positive and thinking what they can do. Thank you. Thank you, Dilip.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in. We'll be back soon with another conversation featuring leaders who are building technologies that impact millions. Please like, share, subscribe, and until then, keep innovating and keep building. Thank you.